Hi, so I thought I would give you some tips on the research argument, our last paper of this term. It is 200 points. So it is a big enough assignment that it could move your whole letter grade up, or your whole grade, a letter grade up or down. And it's due the last day of our term, so it's really important that you do the best job that you can on this paper. Our last two papers, our rhetorical analysis and synthesis papers, were both just 100 points each, but this one is a 200-point paper. One thing that will help you succeed is to look over the assignment sheet for this paper. I don't know if you've done that yet for the other two, but this one I'd especially look at closely. And for that reason, I have it up here on the screen for you, and I've added some notes in so that you can remember the things that I'm going to talk to you about here on this paper. Okay, so first of all, it is, as it says here, a 10 to 12 page paper. It's claim driven, and it's a research argument, which means don't just write a really long research paper like maybe you would have in college or in a freshman level writing course. Here at BYU Idaho, a research argument is written in a very specific format. We're trying to teach you specific formats here in this course, and this one's no different. So don't just write me an essay. Don't just write me a research paper. Write me a researched argument. I'm going down here to the paper organization, the introduction, a note on the claim. Remember, the claims are never questions. Your claim is always going to be a declarative statement stating exactly the point that you want to make about your issue. So no questions here. Going down into the background section, there's two things that are really important about the background section. One of them is that this is the part of the paper where you can use the personal I verbs, and you can talk about how this topic is important to you. You can either address why it's important to society in general right now in 2017, or you can talk about why it's important to you personally in 2017. Why is this something that we need to know about now, that you need to talk about now? Why is it pertinent to your reader and to yourself? The second thing that you do here in the background section is to define your key terms. Those terms can be things that might be kind of obvious. It might be something like paparazzi or social media or family, dynamics, depression, anxiety. Any key term that's important for your reader to understand in order to understand your paper, you're going to want to define here. You're supposed to have, per the assignment sheet, two sources. That can be Encyclopedia Britannica, American College English Dictionary, any of those types of reference books or reference websites. Don't use Wikipedia. Try not to use dictionary.com. Going down to your lines of argument, this is really important. 2/3 of your paper is going to consist in these lines of argument that you've been working on these last couple of days and will be working on for the next few. 2/3 of a 12-page paper is 8 pages. So as I grade your paper, I'm going to be looking for 8 full pages of discussion, back and forth argument about your topic. So as you've worked on the lines of argument this week, you're going to just pull that format right over and use it here. I have broken down the lines of argument section into what I think might be a little bit easier to understand. So each of your sections, you've been told to have at least 4 lines of argument. Each of your sections here, you're going to start with a counter argument provided by the opposition. Okay, so something the opposition would argue with you against your claim. You can say anything along the lines of, some people might say, researchers might say, public opinion states, something like that. And then give the counter argument. Yes, you are starting with I guess their counter argument against you, what the opposing viewpoint would say. The next thing you do is provide your counterclaim, so one of your main subclaims underneath your main claim. Then you are going to make a concession or concede, as the paper rubric says. So you're going to say, well, they have a point, but, or they're partially correct, or I would agree that they are partially correct in this issue. However, But, okay, and then you provide your rebuttal where you kind of say, you know what, I'm still right. Here is more evidence. Here's more analysis. Here are more, just more pieces of data that prove that I'm still right. Okay, so you're going to do that at least 4 times. Each of these lines of argument can be a few paragraphs long. I'm guessing probably 2 or 3 for each one, depending on how fleshed out you make these. You need to have at least one quote or data piece of evidence from a source for the opposition. And then you need to have one, I would say at least 2, 1 to 2, maybe 3, but 1 or 2 pieces of data or evidence or a quotation from your source in favor of your point of view here. So on here I've just color coded it. A brown one, a blue one, a green one, a purple one, just to show you that you will do the same thing like 4 times in a row. You can use subheadings if you want to. In MLA format, it's a matter of choice whether you like to use subheadings or where you don't. It doesn't matter. Use them, don't use them, whatever you'd prefer. All right. After that, at the end of this section, there's one more thing you can do. So when you've addressed all the lines of argument where you have 4 times said, this is what they think, 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 and you've rebutted and counterclaimed all of that, then you have a space here where you can then use the rest of your information, the rest of your points that you haven't used yet, proving your main claim of the paper. You can get a little bit personal here again. You can use a personal I in this section, but do it sparingly. But this is where you'll talk to us and tell us about the things that weren't even considered by the opposition. Really interesting, solid, pertinent data, anecdotes, evidence, things that prove your point, where you're just talking about, this is really where you could pull over the end of your synthesis paper, where you have talked about the new insight that you developed based on your research. Again, you can use the personal I in here, try to use it sparingly, but this is where you'll really take that synthesized opinion and that you have created and make your point. And that rolls right in, transitions very well here into the conclusion. Your conclusion paragraph is usually about 1 paragraph long. You state your claim again. You can revisit the anecdote that you had at the beginning of the paper. If it was a really fantastic anecdote, a fantastic way to hook us in, you can wrap it around and finish with a little bit more about that. And then, very important, something that I've noticed, it can be a little bit easy to forget for some of us, is that when you end a conclusion of when you conclude your paper, you shouldn't just end with your claim again. Okay, you should be having a couple of sentences, 3 or 4, that talk about why we should care about your topic. So imagine somebody reading your paper and saying, so what? So why did I just read 12 pages about that? I don't care. Make me care as your reader. Make any potential audience person care. You might have a spouse or a roommate, boyfriend, girlfriend, best friend, neighbor, someone at the writing center even, read your paper and kind of throw that question out to you and say, so make me care about this. Is it pertinent to me? Is it pertinent to the world? Why should I care? Okay, so have an answer to that. Remember, the end of your paper is kind of like the end scene in a movie, and if you don't make it unforgettable, then it kind of falls flat. And if you fall flat at the end, it's easy to forget some of the really good things that you did in the middle of the paper. So make sure that you end that in a productive way. I would invite you also to look at the rubric for this assignment so that you can see exactly how the points are spread out. With each of the categories within the rubric, sometimes there are 3 or 4 things rolled into one category, and you might wonder why you scored low in a certain category. And it might just be because you've forgotten one thing in that category and it's bumped you down a few points. This being said, MLA formatting is something that's easy to forget, but don't. It's not a lot of points, it's about 10 points, but even then it's 10 points that can make a difference on your paper. A really good resource for current 2017 MLA formatting rules is the Purdue OWL website online. If you just Google Purdue OWL and MLA formatting, it can pretty much answer any question that you have about formatting. I'm happy to answer questions about your paper. I'm happy to look at your lines of argument if you want to email them to me and bounce off some ideas off of me and ask me whether or not you're on the right track. Or if you have MLA formatting questions, I can help you with those as well. So good luck on this paper. Please, 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 please ask your questions. If you don't ask them and then you turn in a paper and have done something wrong, then there's not a lot we can do about it. So I'm excited to read your papers. I actually love writing and reading research. I guess that makes this course a good fit for me to teach. I know not a lot of people do, but I sincerely enjoy reading what you guys write. So I'm excited to do that. But please ask any questions. Please, 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 please ask any questions that you might have. And let's finish the semester off well. Thanks, guys.